Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on searching and safe. Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday. My name's Rob DaCosta, and I'm going to be taking you through some of the features that Safe can offer you. But before we get started, I'd just like to tell you all a little bit about some of the classes that we have coming up here soon. From Maine to Maple Grove, California to Colorado, and a few points in between, we're going to be having in-person safe training classes that are geared towards administrators. So if you would like to register for that, we would love to see you. I believe the cost is $250 per person, and that training is going to be over the course of a couple days. So if you'd like to have more information about that, feel free to log into our website, go to events, click on Save Classes, and you can pick up a little bit more information there if you would like to. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Today, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about advanced searching. And the focus today is going to be doing a little bit of basic searching from cases, people, items, things of that nature. In addition to that, we're going to go a little bit further with that, and we're going to be doing a few advanced searches. For example, how can you combine an item search with a search of custom data? Why would you do something like that? How can you combine a case search with an item search? Or maybe you're combining transactions with item searches. And so we're going to discuss some of those here shortly. So why would you want to do that anyway? You know, like, what's the point? What are you trying to accomplish? Well, you're trying to find information. And why would you want to do that? Well, maybe you're searching, maybe the boss, supervisor, wants to know how many homicide cases you had last year, or how many cases from a particular officer did they create last year? How many drug offenses occurred this year? How many sexual assaults occurred this year, last year? Maybe you want to generate those results for your yearly reports. So let's get into creating some of those. Now, you can search on items for a particular time frame, and we'll be doing some of those a little bit later. Another one of the searches that I'm probably going to create here shortly is one for currency, which is going to be a combination of an item search and a custom data search, which will show you how much checked-in currency you have on hand. We're also going to be searching people here as well. And as evidence management professionals, I would like to show you how to leverage the searches that we're going to be creating against the software to make your life easier. And that's the goal of any good software, is to make people's lives easier. So that's what we're going to try and endeavor to do today. We're also going to take those searches and put them on your dashboards, essentially. We're going to create a widget or two, put those searches on your dashboard, and you're just going to have those results displayed on your dashboard whenever it is you would like to have them, and you can update those, refresh those results whenever you would like. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to start by going to my nav menu over here on the left-hand side of the screen, and I'm just going to click search and then cases. That is going to take me to the advanced search case screen, where you can put in any number of different variables at this point. Now, if you don't want to put anything in, you can get rid of the offices that you don't want to have in your search. And I'm just going to click search and see what comes up. And there are nearly 40,000 cases that I have. So that's, that really doesn't get me where I want to go. That's too many results to really be of any use for what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to click up here on my search parameters bar. And now maybe you're an org admin, an administrator of SAFE, and you want to teach your officers, for example, or your users, agents, what have you, to look up how many cases they have. So they could go to case officer, and let's pick on Ben. All right, so we'll go with Ben here. And I'm just going to click search, and let's see how many cases Ben has. All right, well, it came back with 60 items. So it looks like Ben has 60 cases in our system. Now, if you click on the search parameter bar again, you can start to drill down into some of these things. If you're an officer or a user, you just want to know how many cases that you have, you can go down here now and save that. And once you do, let's go ahead and save that. And we're just going to call it Ben's total cases. So this is the total amount of cases for Ben. Let's plug in some more variables. Let's look for Ben's active cases. So where active equals true, let's save that. All right, so now we found where we've saved a couple of searches. Now we could click search and it would redo the search down here below, but we're just gonna move on. And we're gonna take the searches that we just created and put them into a widget now. So you could continue on down this path, and the more variables, the more parameters you enter, the more it's going to narrow down that list of results. So if you want to know how many active cases that Ben has had for some type of an offense type, maybe for drug offenses or whatever it is, you could start plugging in those parameters, those variables, to get those narrowed list of results. But we've got a couple of saved searches now. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I am going to click on my add widget box, and I'm going to scroll down and click statistics. And this is going to put a statistics widget on my dashboard. So I'll click statistics, and I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom of my dashboard where I have a widget box called widget 1. I'm going to rename that by clicking the icon to the left of the X. And we'll call it something. Now I'm going to click the blue circle with the white plus, and I'm going to start layering in the searches that I just saved. And we get this pop-up here for add a statistic. I'm going to click on my save search field, and at the very, very bottom are the 2 searches that we just saved. So I'll click on Ben's total cases. Everything's going to get pre-populated in this example. I'm just going to click save, and that's going to give me some results there. And I'm going to do the same thing, click the blue circle with the white plus. I'm going to do the same exact thing for the other search that we saved for Ben's active cases, and we'll save that. So it looks like Ben has 60 total cases, and only 48 of those are active. Now, if you hover your mouse over either of those numbers and click on them, it's going to launch that search and tell you exactly what those are. And in the lower left-hand corner of the widget box, there's a date and a timestamp. If you want the latest results, you can click on the refresh icon, and that will give you the latest, greatest results within this particular widget. Now, another thing that you can do is you can leverage what you've just done as well. If someone walks by your computer and sees a widget like that on your dashboard and likes it, or you have some yearly stats that your supervisor wants, you can just give them that widget ID number, which is 7-5. And if they get logged in, they can go to their add widget box, and if they click the third one down, copy user widget, they can put in the widget ID of 7-5, and if they click OK, then a copy of that widget is going to be on their dashboard. Now at that point, you can change your widget around however you would like to. You can delete line items, add to the widget, whatever you want, and it's not going to affect the person who copied this widget. It's not going to affect their widget. The reverse is true. Whoever copied your widget can now add to it, and it's not going to affect anything that you're doing. So please take a look at that and start creating some widgets. All right. Another thing that we can do here is we've done a basic kind of search on cases. Let's take a look at items. And now you can search items. There are a ton of different parameters in here that you can look at, from who created the item, when it was created, if there's a description of the item, when it was recovered, etc. So if I just go to category and I pick drugs, and I'll take out a couple of the offices I don't really want in there, I'm just going to click search and I'll just see what happens. Okay, well, it came back with 18,000 plus results, which is kind of useless to me. So I'm going to refine that a little bit. So let's look for checked in drugs. And let's search that. So it should move from 18,000 down. It should narrow that down a little bit more. And great, okay, we only have 4,000 results now. So we're starting to narrow that down, our search results, to something more usable. You can continue this by further entering in more parameters. Like maybe you want to look for checked in drugs or drugs that were checked in this year. So you can go with a created date between a certain date range. If you click on the first calendar icon, we'll just go with, let's do last year. And so let's do January 1st through December 31st of last year. So how many drugs were checked in last year? And we only had 8. Great. So we're starting to get down to something a lot more usable. And the same thing applies now that applied to our case search. So we look for checked in drugs from last year. So let's save that. Checked in drugs from 2021. And once again, if you go back to your dashboard and go down to your widget box, you can click the blue circle with a white plus. Click in the Save Search field at the top, and all the way down to the bottom is your search for your checked in drugs from last year. Save that, and there's your count. If you hover your mouse over that number, those numbers, whatever they are, and you click on that, it is going to run that search and bring back whatever those search results are. And we should see those here in a minute. And there they are. There are the 8 drugs that were checked in last year. Now we're seeing they might have been recovered in 2018, but they were checked in 2021. So that's why that is shown like that. All right, you can also, maybe you want to search on drugs that are currently checked in some type of storage location. Now you could click this dark circle with the down arrow here, and then you'll get some choices. You can further refine that. You can continue to put in forward slashes and refine that down. Or if you know the endpoint, all right, let me actually clear this out. All right, if you know the endpoint of a storage location, you can also type that in. And when the blue box comes up, you can click on that and go from there. You can also include sublocations in that search by clicking on that checkbox. So there are a lot of different ways that you can refine your searches and narrow things down. All right, some other searches in the system are transactionable searches. Searches related to some type of a transaction. So what might those be? Well, maybe a transaction that you perform are disposals. And you want to know how many disposal transactions you've had in any given year. So you could do a dispose date between a date range, just as we did with the item search. So let's say you would like to know how many disposals that you performed or that were performed last year. You could certainly search on that, and that will bring up all of the disposals that were performed last year. It'll tell you when they were done, who did them, etc., what the method was, how many items were in that type of a disposal. If you click on that 4 or 2 or whatever it is, it should bring those items up and tell you exactly what was disposed of. So you can look at things like that. Another type of search for disposals is we did a dispose date between a date range. You can also choose from a disposal method. So maybe you want to know how many things were returned to the owner next of kin last year. You can search on that. And it doesn't look like we returned anything last year. So that's no good. All right, let's clear that out. Let's look for how many total things we've returned to owners. Hopefully we'll get some results. And we do. And now, once again, you can save this search. And you can put that into the form of a widget on your dashboard. But I am going to clear this out, and I am going to do a dispose date, once again, between a date range. And the range I'm going to go for is, I think I'm going to try 2020 through today. And I'm going to save that. And we'll do something with that a little bit later. All right. Some of the other searches, more basic kinds of searches in the system, are going to be in the same way that we search disposals against a date range and
thank you all for joining me today.
Maybe you want to know how many things you auctioned off
looks like we got finished a little bit earlier
how many things were
than I
returned to the owner.
expected. It was a fairly short webinar today.
To another law
So once again, I
agency,
thank you all for joining.
Department.
I hope you
can
all
certainly
have a wonderful Thanksgiving
do those
coming
searches
up,
and save them.
you
and we'll combine
eat lots of
this
turkey
with an
and
item
pass
search
that on
a little bit later on to
Thanks
give
again,
you,
everyone, for joining the webinar, and
list of those
hopefully
exact
you'll
items.
be with us again next time.
You can do
Bye-bye.
the same with searches of items that have been checked out. You can most certainly do a date range and a reason. Maybe you're searching for items that were checked out to the lab. You want to know how many items did I check out to go to the lab last year or this year? How many items were checked out for an inspection or review? This is definitely one way you can do that. All right. And we are now going to take a look at media. And any of these searches here on the left-hand side of the screen, you can save. And that, hopefully that will make your life a little bit easier, because once you save these searches, you can put them into a widget. Now with media, let's just click search and see what comes up. Okay, so it looks like we have 600 pieces of media in the system. And some of the things that we can do with that are, most certainly you can go back in, you can do media for a certain uploaded date. after a certain date, between the date range like we did earlier. If you categorized your media, you can search against that. Some of the things that you can do with media, though, are media takes up space. And for every license that you purchase, you are getting 250 gigs of cloud storage space that's included per license that we back up currently through AWS, Amazon Web Services, S3 servers. Now, if you are done, let's say you're done with this media, and you are done with the case, it's done, it's over with, you can safely, you've disposed of the items, but this media is still taking up space. You can go back through, and with the appropriate permissions, you can select whatever media that you don't need anymore, and you can delete it. And that's going to permanently delete that media, the payload files. So you're going to see this red box with a white X. So it's deleted the payload file and essentially freed up that space, so it no longer counts towards that 250 gigs of cloud storage space. So that is a simple search on media that you can do. And so now let's talk a little bit about some of the advanced searching features in Safe. And so let's take a look at searching cases. And let's see, let's pick on Ben again. And so we're going to search cases against Ben. And we're going to get rid of any offices we don't want to look at. And if I click search, a number of different cases for Ben are going to come up. But now, maybe I would like to search for any cases where Ben has edited or updated that case. So instead of searching necessarily where Ben is, where's the case officer, let me clear that out. And I'm going to just click in search history now. And I want to see any cases where Ben has edited. And we'll click search. And it looks like Ben has edited 337 cases. And that is a lot. And so now I'm wondering, okay, well, why is that? Why is that? You know, unfortunately, some people will, you know, have gone rogue, and maybe you want to see all of the drug offense types cases, for example, where money was involved, and you want to see what user may have edited those cases. So let's look for an offense type, and let's look for drug offenses, because sometimes those have money. So let's search that against Ben, who has made some edits. And it looks like Ben has edited 81 cases that are drug offenses. So something's going on there that I may want to look into a little bit further. Now, you can also search in custom data. So if you have custom data forms for your cases, then you can search against any of the parameters you enter up at the top and combine that with a search of that custom data. So maybe you're looking for any, let me actually clear that one out. Anything that was created by Ben where that case might be up for review, for example. All right, let's search that. And it doesn't look like Ben has any cases up for review. But you could do something like that, where you're combining parameters up at the top. You can combine that with a search history where updates or edits have been made by a certain user or individual. And you can also turn on searching in custom data if you have custom data forms associated with your cases. But I think I'm going to, all right, we got Ben up at the top, and I think I'm going to just turn all that off. I believe we already saved Ben's active cases. And so I'm going to go back to my widget. And yes, we have Ben's active cases. So we'll do something with those here in a minute. So now let's do a search on items. And I want to look for some items where Ben is the case owner. So I'm going to go to my save searches of cases, and at the very bottom, I have the two searches that I just saved. So now I'm going to look at Ben's active cases, and now I'm going to put in some parameters up here at the top. So I want to look for items that are checked in from Ben's active cases and see if there's anything there. So this is a search that an officer, for example, might want to save as well. So the officer might want to save a search of their cases, save a search of their items that are currently checked in, their active cases, items that are currently checked in, put those in a widget, and then they can see kind of what they have. And so if you click search at this point, we'll see how many, okay, so it looks like Ben has 50,000 items that are currently checked in. So you can start to narrow down those fields just as we did previously with the cases. So maybe we want to look at currency. How many of those items that are currently checked in are items of currency? And hopefully we're going to get a smaller result. It doesn't look like Ben has any currency checked in. Or how many of those items are drugs? All right, well, only looks like there are 20 drugs. And so you can continue to narrow this down as you would like. You can also search in the history as we did with cases, an update made by Ben. So how many of these drug items has Ben edited? And it doesn't look like Ben has edited any items that are checked in related to drugs. So you can see how you can further refine your searches by putting in more parameters. I'm going to clear this search out, and then I'm going to search in custom data. All right, so that cleared that out. And let's see here. All right, we did a search of, I think we did a search of disposals. And now we're combining that search that we did of disposals earlier with an item search. And now if we click search here, well, first off, we could save this, and that would save the item search of disposals. So we're combining that transactionable search of disposals with this item search that we're doing right now. If we click search, we're going to get the items that were related to the disposals that we did from 2020 through today. And here are all of those items. So if you want to save that, if you click up here in the search parameters bar, you can go back, you can save that. And let's put that in as 2020 disposals through today items. You can save that search. You can do it on a yearly basis. And then put that in a widget. Maybe you label these as case and item information stats from 2020, 2021, 2022. And when you do that, when somebody asks you for those stats, they're just going to be on your dashboard, ready for you to give them those stats, or they can copy that widget, and then they're going to have those types of stats on their dashboard, and they won't have to ask you anything. So there that is, 2020 disposals through today. There are those items. If you click on the number 128, it's going to run that search and tell you exactly what those items are. So that's a little bit more of an advanced type of search. Another kind of advanced search is people want to know, let's look at things that are checked in. Let's go with an item category. Let's do currency. And let's combine this with another search. Let's do a search in custom data. Let's change the custom data form to something else. Let's go with the currency form. And I'm not looking for particular fields, so I'm going to click anything, the anything in form checkbox. And I'm going to save that. And let's give it a second here. Currency, anything in form. Great. Okay. So we'll click OK. And so that saved that search. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard and do some couple of different things. We're going to take that search, and now we're going to go back to our widget. We'll click the blue circle with the white plus. And up in my save search field, I'm going to click in there, and at the very bottom, once again, is my search that I just saved. And I am going to retitle it checked in currency. But instead, this time, instead of going with a field of created by, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Since I chose anything in form, anything in that form, any of those fields are going to show up. So I'm going to go with a currency total this time. And instead of just counting those items one by one, I want to sum those items in dollars. So let's save that. And there you go. So now I have a count of my checked in currency. That's cool. So if you click on that number, though, 19,462 or whatever it is, you click on the number, pardon me, it's going to run that search, and it's going to bring back all of the items that it used to create that number. And there they are. So that's another type of advanced search that you can do. All right, let's go back to our item search again, and let's clear that out. All right, another type of search which is useful for admins is searching by particular storage locations. For example, one of the more popular ones is searching on temporary lockers. And it looks like we have quite a number of them in there. So let's see if anything's in here. All right, let's include sublocations. So anything underneath temp blockers, and let's search that and see if anything comes up. All right, I'm just so good. I've cleared everything out of my temp blockers and I'm good to go, which is probably not the case, but that's okay. So let's save that. And I'm just going to call it temp blockers and click OK. And now I'm going to go back to my dashboard. I'm going to put that search that I just created into my case and item information widget. And I'll click on my save search field. At the very bottom are my temp blockers, including sublocations. And I'm just going to save that. So now, you know, Safe is a internet cloud-based product software. So you can log in to the web application, you know, wherever you are in the world and see, okay, well, nothing is in my temp blocker, nothing are in my temp blockers, so I can continue to vacation in Hawaii for the next day or two. I don't need to go back into the office, wherever that might be. I'm going to sit on the beach for the next few weeks until these things fill up. Then I might think about going in, or whatever. So you can take a look at that. Maybe that's something that would interest you in doing. Or if you have a disposal bin for your drugs, for example, say you get court orders for drugs, you take them off the shelves, you put them into a disposal or destruction bin, you know, search against, search that bin, save that search, put it in a widget. You're going to get those numbers here. When you click on them, it's going to run that search, bring up everything related to that search, bring all those items up. And at that point, you can select everything, and maybe you want to check them out because you're going to be taking them to be disposed of, or you want to go to your actions box and dispose of all those items. And we'll take a look at that here. So I just clicked on that number 8 for some checked in drugs. Maybe we're going to be disposing of them. Here they are. We're going to select all of them. We're going to go to actions. And you can either check them out now and check them out using the reason taken for disposal. You could also pull up a disposal list report for those items. And then once you receive verification that those items have indeed been disposed of, you could go into the scan area of Safe, scan those items barcodes from the disposal list report, and then dispose of those items. And your chain of custody reports will be very, very accurate at that point. So that's another idea that you may want to consider. All right. And so I know I have thrown a whole lot of information at you today. So with that, I think I'm going to take some questions. If anyone has any questions, you can put them in the questions view. I think there are a few questions. Okay, can we search for a serial number? So at the very top right-hand corner, there is a global search feature. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure if you're seeing global search or just search. If you're not seeing global search, then you should be seeing that hopefully on the next update of Safe, which is coming up very soon. I suspect we are going to be updating the software to the latest version, hopefully within the next few weeks. All right, another question. Is there a way to get the total number of items disposed of without having to add the numbers manually? So if you, and that one's from Brian, if you do your search of disposals over whatever parameters you want. Maybe you want to do a disposal date. You want to do a date range for over the course of this year. You would search the disposal date between that date range and save it, and then go to your items, search on items, and at the bottom of the item search, you can combine your item search with a save search of disposals, and you can either save that or click search, and that will give you that number count up at the top. It'll show you how many items are related to those disposal transactions. Okay, another question is, can you search 2 types of offenses? So can you search, and that's going to be related to cases and not items. You know what, that's a good question. I really do not know if they are going to do something like that, where that would be like an and statement. This equals whatever, burglaries and criminal damage, or what have you. So I will have to look into that, and I'll find out and let you know. Another one along that same train of thought is going to be, can a search be made on multiple item categories? So can you search drugs and money? And at present, you can only search one. Whether they're going to open that up as well to this category and allow you to add more categories, I don't know. I'm not sure, Pam. I will have to find out and let you know. Can you search and save drugs by a weight range? Okay, well, that's an interesting question. So if you do a search on drugs, you can open up custom data and pull up the drug form. And then you can drill down into the particular fields. And then from there, you could do by a weight range. Yes, so you can do grams is between, I don't know, 5 and 10 grams or what have you. Now, if you're gonna, once again, if you're gonna do something like that, once you go through all the work to create this search, if you make it general enough, I would suggest saving those searches, putting them into the form of a widget on your dashboard. That way you're not gonna have to keep creating them over and over and over again. Maybe this year, you won't have to create them next year, et cetera, et cetera. Will the global search find most any text? That is another good question. I believe global search is going to search for case number, org number, item. Let's take a look here. We have a recent case. All right, so if you do your global searches, that's going to pull up cases, items, people that might be related to whomever, whatever, things that have been checked in, checked out, disposed of, etc. So that is really searching most everything for whatever you type in. Another one of the searches in here, kind of finally at the end here, which we didn't really cover, is going to be a search on people. It's pretty basic. If, for example, if somebody comes to you and says they want their whatever it is that you have back, you can do a search on their last name, for example, and that is going to pull up all of the Smiths in your system. And you can, if you view that person, let's just view Mary here. At the bottom of the search screen, well, first off, here's the person view, and here's a little bit of information about Mary. Now, if you continue to scroll down to the very, very bottom, all of these are tabs related to that person. So the first tab is the address tab, and that's going to show you that person's address. Another tab might, if people have entered notes about that person, you can look up those notes here. You can click on the cases involved in tab to see how many cases this person has ever been involved in since being entered into the system. If somebody comes to you to pick up their belongings, you can click on the items belonging to tab, and that is going to bring up that person's items and show you exactly if they're checked in, if they've been checked out, if they've been disposed of. It's going to show you what status are related to those items. If you would like, and you're returning belongings to someone that are of very high value, for example, maybe you want to take a picture of their license. You can click on the media tab and you can upload or add a piece of media here. You can upload a picture or drag and drop a file there. So that's a little bit about what you can do with a people search. It's not nearly as in-depth as the other searches that we did today. And unfortunately, at the moment, you cannot really combine an item search with a search of people. At least not yet. I don't know if that's going to be coming anytime soon, but I hope it does. And with that, I think those are all of the questions that that we have today. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining me today for today's webinar. If you have any additional questions, feel free to send me an email or give me a call. I am more than happy to help you with whatever you need help with. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week, great weekend coming up, and we will talk with you soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.